so much for coming and taking the time to speak with us whilst we're here at Banking Renaissance.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
The first thing I've got to ask is, you come all the way from Joburg. I mean, it's a pretty nice, easy commute in many ways. What has brought you to this event today? Like, what's been your motivation for coming here?
Yeah, so as you correctly pointed out, I'm South African. I'm from Monocle Solutions. We're a management consultancy. And we recently opened an office here in the Netherlands. So I've got colleagues here in the Netherlands. And we've started building a relationship with the Banking 50 and with Elena and with Morten. And I wanted to come and join this conference to see what the speakers were covering, but also to come and network a bit with some of the banks here in the Netherlands, because they're being our target market, right, as management consultants. Our company focuses on banking and insurance specifically, so that's why I'm here.
Now, let's talk about, we've got to break that down a wee bit. So being a management consultant, I mean, that's a very broad thing. What is it? Why do you do what you do in management consultancy? What's the problem you guys are trying to solve?
Yeah. Look, we've been around for about 20 years, and over the last 20 years, I think our focus has changed slightly as the requirements from a regulatory point of view has kind of matured. But in all those things, we've always found that banking is a core part of society, right? We think it's a very noble and important cause in economics. And as a company, we help those, basically the health of the body economic, right? We help work on the banks and make sure that they are meeting the changes through time, right? So the kind of things we work on is typically regulatory compliance. So there's always this regulatory agenda, and somebody needs to help the banks implement it. So it's one thing reading the regulations, understanding what it says, but another thing is making it real, day to day, operationalize it, systemize it, industrialize it in terms of your processes, and that's what our consultants do. So yeah, we've got about 300 consultants, close to 280, 300 consultants in South Africa now. We're probably one of the largest management consultants of our type in South Africa, and we started exporting that skill set with our office in the UK and now in the Netherlands as well. So that's kind of what's driven us over the last few years, 2 decades, I would say. In terms of this market, and we're very focused, very niche, because there's so much to do in this space. One can start specializing and drilling down into the detail.
What is it about helping? I mean, as you mentioned a few examples there. There's a lot of regulation in financial services, and difference between insurance and banking in different jurisdictions. It's just endless.
Yeah.
What is it that you're in the kind of the position now where you could, at your level, you choose what you do. You don't do it just because you have to. What is it about working in this space and helping these banks solve this problem? What is it about that appeals to you on a human level? Like, what is it that, where do you get that little dopamine rush from fixing that?
Yes, I must say, look, it is probably, banks are typically quite sophisticated, right?
Yeah.
And they're typically also leading in terms of being large global citizens and the kind of things that they need to face. But also they play this very specific role in the stability of the financial system. I mean, we've seen when things have gone wrong, how badly it goes, right? So even with something as boring as regulation, I don't know, it probably takes a certain persona to find these things interesting. But we do find it interesting that my colleagues and myself, it's the kind of stuff we like working on, and probably at the end of the day, it comes down to problem solving. Taking a problem statement, which has a larger impact, and translating that into something that's actually tangible and effective. Now, add with that a healthy dose of technology, you've got quite an interesting subject area, right? Because as I mentioned earlier, every time we touch something that's regulatory related, AML, KYC, Basel IV, even just implementing something in South Africa we're doing now is called deposit insurance. You guys have in the UK have had that for a while. We're now getting it in South Africa. But one of the fundamental things is having a single view of your customer. Now, some banks, would you believe it or not, don't have that, right? That's very much a data and a technology problem. You've probably had it when people phone you and in the same branch or a different area phones you in the bank, and you sound like a stranger to them, although you've been banking with another area for years, right?
I've been in a branch whilst on the phone to the call center telling me I need to go to the branch.
Yeah, so that doesn't surprise me. It should, it's 2023. We would hope those things are there. But those are some of the fundamental capabilities we try and help implement. So I mean, that in itself is a very interesting problem statement. How do you approach that? They spoke about quite a few of these things today, and one of it is often the cultural change that you need to bring about in the bank. So for example, if you talk about data strategy, for a while people thought they wanted to embark on a data kind of journey as trying to get ahead. You have to be on that journey already just to kind of keep up with the rest. But if you really want to do that effectively, there's many other softer things that come into play beyond the tech and the regulatory change parts. It's things like the change management, working with the people as well. There's interesting people in banking, right? Interesting characters, people with a lot of competency and knowledge. So we work with interesting people, but having to try and help organizations change their culture to affect this change, specifically if it's data-driven projects, that is a bit of black magic sometimes. How do you get everybody to kind of swim in the right direction? So, as I've mentioned, the size of the company, you know, our project sizes vary in size, you know, but often we come in as impact players, a couple of us in a project, and we make a difference. And I think we get a lot of kick out of that. I do, at least. And I mean, in terms of my work, I used to be a consultant for many, many years in the company. These days, my role is to look at the commercial side and networking and meeting new clients and building that network. I get a very big kick out of that.
I'm always interested on the kind of consulting side, because the way I see it, there's sort of two levels to it. Because as a consultant, you come in, you can tell people what to do, and in some ways sort of slightly inspire, but you're not that business. Like if that business then goes tits up, so you don't have that skin in the game, but you need to act like you do. How do you maintain that attitude as if you're consulting there, but you're also taking responsibility there?
Yeah, I do think very much that also comes down to personal traits and characteristics. So whenever we employ people in our company culture is exceptionally important to us. So I recognize the value in that. And so whenever we appoint people, when we pick people, I'm very much involved in the recruitment side as well. I help our people and culture team on that front, along with my other colleagues. It's finding that right fit where people have that natural tendency to, how can I say, almost like have skin in the game, or having that dedication to the cause, right? So you mentioned earlier that, you know, sometimes consultancies tell banks what to do. I think that's where we are often quite different. You have the typical management consultants who do the PowerPoint decks and the fancy slides, and they help with the strategy, and that's it.
Consultants.
And they move on, right? And then the poor bank is left saying, well, how do I raise this baby now? Now that I've had this idea, how do I raise this or bring it to fruition? That's where we come in. It's because we often believe our clients know exactly what their pain points are. The problem for them is executing it practically. That's why we call ourselves execution partners as a company. So so if you have, that's what we focus on. So it's very much the proof is in the pudding. It's about seeing the final results. We like to stay on the project. And over years, I mean, many of our clients we've had basically for the entire duration of Monocle for the last 20 years, let's say for the last 16, 17 years, we've been at specific clients, always in different projects. So you have this inherent interest. They need to succeed because with them we succeed as well, you know. So it's not just a flash in the pan where a project move on. Typically it's the one leads to the next, and you kind of become part of this competitive advantage of the bank to help them change.
And that's probably translated as well through, you know, the last 20 years and your growth over the last few years, is that you actually it's not just in, out, it's repeat customers and building on it and building on that execution again and again.
Exactly. The thing is, we always say we're not part of the big four. I'll use the word, but we can't hide behind a brand, right? I think we've seen cases in history where potentially the brand mattered
surely
more.
Not.
But we can't be out of a brand. It's all about execution delivery. So when I joined the company, we were just below, I think probably less than 15, 20 people maybe. And we've kind of seen by delivering value, and that gives us, that's part of the kick of having to compete with the bigger guys. But yeah, where we are now in the Netherlands, we're in the next phase, having just celebrated 20 years last year. We had a big party in Johannesburg. And with us focusing on the Netherlands, we're in the next phase now where we really have strong European and growth objectives. And we think we bring something quite unique to this market, in the sense that we have this depth of skill, but the Netherlands, they don't have people. They have this insatiable demand for talent. And I think we can offer that. That's something we've positioned at the previous conference, is to say that what COVID taught us, we can do work remotely, hybrid model. And so we have people on site in the Netherlands, and some guys sitting in South Africa that can remotely, same time zone, first language English speaking, can service our clients in the Netherlands. So we're looking very much forward to growing our client base with the Dutch banks as well. I think they had a very interesting, different flavor to our portfolio. I think you must have used a lot of pencil on the beard, but that's very, very nice.